Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Find a living in fisheries. The UAS Fisheries Technology Program offers online study from anywhere in Alaska, plus labs and workshops in many Alaska towns.
Is most likely a chum.
Find your living without leaving where you are. Fisheries Technology from UAS.
The National Weather Service.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks again for joining us for this Monday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting this evening's show. On satellite imagery here, starting out yesterday, we had a band of clouds, big area of high pressure up over the Arctic there, and the clockwise flow coming southward and then eastward here underneath the high, and that pushing that band off to the west. And this, as you can see, taking off there over into Russia, clearing out behind it, leaving a narrow boundary right through there just along and north of Fairbanks, on down toward Northway, south of Eagle there, and then back out to the west. Really nothing significant going on with that. And then some clouds here rolling up from the southeast, heading northwestward, affecting Kodiak, mostly with clouds, main rain area back through here, and shifting off to the northwest there, just getting east of the Pribilof Islands and Unalaska Island as well. Pretty nice out in the Bering Sea, all the way out to Shemya. And the southeast coast here looking really good as well. Kind of a weak trough farther down to the south, but no significant weather yesterday associated with that. And the bulk of the southward movement here, the energy with this system off into northwest Canada. And for today, that's slipped all the way over even farther to the east. It's a very weak band of just clouds here. Could have been some light snow showers right through here, but nothing significant. Those would have been right up on the mountains. Otherwise, very nice day this afternoon over the interior. All the way down again, dry conditions, some sunshine. Clouds dissipating this afternoon across south central Alaska, but lingering from the Alaska Range across the Kuskokwim Valley on out to St. Lawrence Island. Another band right through here, kind of the original one there, keeping it unsettled for the Alaska Peninsula and up across Nunivak Island, southwest coastal areas, all the way up to the northern Bering Sea. But the interior, southeast coast looking really good. A lot of sunshine there, Dixon Entrance. On north, pick up a few clouds toward Skagway. And out in the Bering Sea, pretty good conditions. St. Paul, St. George, southward to the eastern Aleutians, westward to Adak. Nice conditions, some sunshine, precipitation free. And then the next front out there picking the winds up towards Shemya. Also the rainfall increasing. And the winds still kind of gusty up along the Arctic coast, but not as strong as they were yesterday. And yesterday not as strong as the day before. Still enough gradient up there, that high, close to 1,040 millibars this afternoon, north of the Arctic coast, ridging southeast across the Mackenzie River Delta and Bay areas into the Northwest Territories. And that stiffening the gradient up here across the northern Panhandle, especially northern Lynn Canal, and some outflow winds also along the North Gulf Coast, gusty winds there, but not all that bad, and less of that as you head west here. Some light precipitation, mostly in the form of rain this afternoon, especially down to sea level along the coast there, and then kind of mixing farther northwest you get, and then most of that slipping by near St. Lawrence Island or to the south, and ridging behind that here right through this area for, again, a pretty nice day. Looks like from about the Unalaska area to Nikolsky on out to the west. And then the next system out here, tighter gradient, gusty south to southeast winds, periods of rain and fog, especially from Amchitka Island westward to Attu. And for tonight, high pressure continues to strengthen out here over the Bering Sea. 1,023 millibar center now, just very close to the Pribilof Islands, with light winds extending from there, actually from the Bering Strait southward, eastward, and westward here. This system really weak and kind of bending back to the west a little bit there. So the rain area shifting westward as well, along with the winds starting to diminish from what they were today out there. Still on the gusty side. Otherwise, the north slope could be some flurries there on the north slope. The upsloping conditions a little bit there, but nothing. It'll be very light if it does occur at all. And the winds continuing to diminish. There, as you can see, less gradient, less lines on the chart. 1,033 millibar center there near Old Crow, and then the other one just off the Arctic coast there. So a lot less gradient. Still a little breezy here through the interior, higher terrain, as well as the North Gulf Coast, some outflow winds. Tight enough gradient there, probably keep gales in Lynn Canal tonight. Otherwise, lighter winds on down the coastline, and dry conditions as well, with this moisture starting to pull northward here, but won't get up into the area tonight anyway, but we'll see by tomorrow afternoon. Will shift northwestward as the trough rotates up from one of the main low centers down to the south, 998 millibars. So the best chance of rain early on, of course, Dixon entrance, spreading into Heidelberg, Craig, Klawock, Metlakatla, and Ketchikan, on up possibly as far north as Wrangell. Back over to Port Alexander, I think Sitka will stay dry throughout the day, but look for an increase in clouds here, even over the northern areas throughout the afternoon. And less wind, but still northerly there for Lynn Canal. And nice conditions again, light winds, not only for Tuesday, but light and variable for Wednesday in the forecast here for all the marine areas of the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, and really no wind to speak of for Kodiak Island. Watch for some clouds here on the east side though, but it should remain dry. Otherwise looking sunny back toward Bristol Bay. Interior looking good, just some variable clouds at the most. Precipitation free all the way up to the Arctic coast. And out to the west, offshore flow here keeps a VFR all the way out to at least the coastline or a little beyond, and that northeast flow holding this weakening, ever weakening trough out to the west. Got actually an upper trough starting to develop up in this area. Otherwise some scattered isolated rain and snow showers all off the coast away from the Perblofs, but chance for, let's see, Nelson Lagoon to Falls Pass, King Cove, and maybe on Alaska for those areas. And then nothing out here. High pressure still ridging southward from the Russian Far East. And that holding this front out to the west and directing all the moisture up to the northwest. So looking at head to Wednesday, we'll see that front actually dissipates. Another one slips on eastward there, but is actually a little farther west. So just a chance of rain coming into the far western Aleutians with not much wind at all, a little bit of an increase, especially compared to the central Aleutians, which are looking pretty light there, but ridging high pressure up into the Russian Far East across now the west central Bering Sea as a cold upper level low cuts off here over the southeast Bering, west of Bristol Bay. Look for an increase in the clouds and a little more coverage of the snow shower conditions still off the coast, but the flow rotating that northwestward, so some of that could slip on down late in the day toward Unalaska and possibly Atka Island, and then back up along the north side of the Alaska Peninsula, but nothing really significant. Wind's not all that strong, just kind of chilly and snowy conditions out there for Wednesday. Weak actual thermal low here right over Cook Inlet. No storminess at all or clouds, sunny skies and mild temperatures, maybe some lingering flurries here north or the eastern Alaska range, Nabesna, maybe Northway. Otherwise, clear skies, sunny conditions up to the north, and still enough of a gradient here for some gusty east winds, especially at higher elevations. Could see gusts to 30 miles an hour in places, and also back to the northwest around Indian Mountain. But pretty light winds on up to the Arctic coast and into the Chukchi Sea. A little more action over the southeast coast with the moisture coming northward tomorrow and tomorrow afternoon. Some of that left over here for some periods of light rain or showers. Mainly over the southern areas again. A very weak low there in British Columbia. Call it 1,009 millibar center. And dry conditions, partial clearing farther to the north, Gustavus on over to Juneau, Haines. And most of the snow shower activity or shower activity will be probably north of the border, north of Skagway, and then kind of extending up in that usual position there when you get high pressure up to the north like that, in again toward the Nabesna Northway area. But that is only a chance at the best. So looking at temperatures across the Panhandle today, 50s to near 60 degrees. We had 55 Yakutat, 58 down at AKwx. Otherwise, lower to mid 50s elsewhere. 52 Cordova, mid to upper 40s south central Alaska this afternoon. 45 down at Kodiak. Same thing in Gulkana. 48 Talkeetna, mid 30s there in the Tanana Valley, with 36 at Fairbanks. Right at the freeze mark though over at Tanana, and farther north some upper 20s lingering to 4 p.m. with 29 over Fort Yukon, 25 degrees Anatuvik, lower elevation there down to Bettles there in Koyukuk Valley, 35. Arctic Coast teens with 18 at Deadhorse, 20 degrees at Kaktovik, Point Lay 21, and then jumping up to 35 degrees at Cape Lisburne, while Kotzebue had 28 and a 33 degree reading at Ambler. Nome a tad warmer there with 35, 36 Unalakleet, and 39 at Holy Cross. Otherwise 36 occurred out there at Monik, and 41 at Bethel, with 40s right on up the Kuskokwim River Valley to McGrath, and otherwise mid-30s out along the coast to 34 degrees at Gamble. St. Paul 43 this afternoon, while St. George had 39, 41 in Alaska, mid to upper 40s there. Central Aleutians falling back to 39 at Shimia, and 40s for the Alaska Peninsula, to lower 50s up there toward King Salmon and Iliamna. Well, for tonight, 20s to near 30 here over the southwest interior, lower 20s, southern Seward Peninsula, lower teens to the north, some areas in the North Slope again, maybe even the Arctic coast, falling a little below 0, 0 to 5 below, call it maybe 6 or 7 below, otherwise above 0 through the Tanana Valley, but still down possibly below 10 degrees tonight, with -2 in the forecast at Eagle. Upper 20s to lower 30s here, south central Alaska, right on down to the coast above freezing. Kodiak and definitely the southern panhandle will be above freezing, if not near 40 for the absolute lows. Then the highs tomorrow back into the 40s to near 50, or even the lower 50s, warmest in the southern southeast coast. So Sitna Valley starting to warm up a little bit there. Could see some mid-50s, as well as the Madanuska Valley on down toward Willow. Otherwise 40s to lower 50s elsewhere. Coldest north of the Brooks Range on out to the Arctic coast. Teens once again. 30s the Bering Sea, 40s Alaska Peninsula and the Aleutians. Flying weather, no IFR in the forecast for late tonight, early tomorrow, or through tomorrow afternoon. Just good VFR with this marginal VFR. That moisture kind of trying to make a move in toward the coast tonight and tomorrow, and then it's going to start pulling back to the west a little bit again. So areas of marginal VFR through here, VFR elsewhere, marginal VFR out over the western Bering and the Aleutians. And for the afternoon forecast, a narrower area of marginal VFR from St. Lawrence Island right along the coast down to the Alaska Peninsula. VFR here over the interior and most of the panhandle, with less marginal VFR out to the west. And now some of that moisture streaming northwestward. Sealing's visibility is coming down, especially in the afternoon there over the southern southeast coast. So passes, no change from yesterday. All VFR in the forecast, Brooks Range, Alaska Range, Lake Clark, Merrill, Rainy. All with Sealing's visibilities possibly unlimited, with Isabel, same forecast, as well as Mentasta. VFR for Tanita, Portage, and Chilkoot and White. Freezing levels 2,000 to 4,000 feet here across the southeast coast, a little lower up from Haines to Skagway. At the surface late tonight, right along the North Gulf Coast. Continued southeast flow, keeping kind of a wedge northwestward. There some milder air, 2,000 feet Bristol Bay. And then even warmer conditions out west. For icing, not much to speak of. Again, that leftover boundary here with the moisture, that's the best chance you'd see some light rime icing, possibly above 3,000 feet, Alaska Peninsula. Mostly off the coast, some of that skirting the coastline there up to St. Lawrence Island, nothing significant at all. And then also chances on the increase here, southeast flow pulling moisture northwestward and across Dixon entrance to the southern southeast coast. And the jet stream looking like this, ridging from the interior right on up into the Arctic, and then back down here shifting into the western Bering Sea. We have a upper level low already cutting off tomorrow afternoon near Nunivak Island there, southwest flowing to Bristol Bay, but right now doesn't look like it's picking up a lot of moisture. A very weak upper system there on the northern panhandle, with the main Pacific jet well to the south. 9,000 feet southeast, 5 knots, picks up dramatically here to about 30 knots off Prince of Wales Island. Light easterly winds North Gulf Coast picking up to 20 to 30 knots in the interior, back down to 20 for the Arctic coast, and then 25 knot winds here along the west coast, diminishing here out into the southeast Bering. And then it looks like the strongest winds out there, 20 to 30 knots. 3,000 feet, about the same pattern, winds even lighter, 10 to 15 or 5 to 15 through the interior from the North Gulf Coast up to the Arctic coast. Northerlies 10 to 20 here from St. Lawrence Island down to the Pribilofs, turning easterly at 20, picking up to 25 knots for the far western Aleutians, and maybe some 20 to 25 knot southeasterlies along and off the central and south coast of the Panhandle. Turbulence-wise, maybe a little bit of moderate chop there to go along with that. Dixon entrance, Prince of Wales Island to about Port Alexander, and also still some mechanical stuff here in northern southeast coast there up into the Wrangell Mountains and eastern Alaska range. Areas of here, mostly over the north slope, so getting a lot smoother for the Arctic coast. The Aleutian range could see a little bit of light to isolated moderate chop. And then from about AKwx westward, a little bit more turbulent than the eastern Aleutians. And after the break of hangar flying, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary O'Connor with the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation and the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. This evening, we are happy to have Oscar Siegel back on hangar flying. Oscar, welcome.
Thanks, it's great to be back.
So we've been talking about your work with the Next Gen program at the Alaska Airmen Association. Your position there is Outreach Coordinator. What does that entail?
So the position of the Outreach Coordinator, I do a lot in youth outreach, as well as with the Next Gen group, but also general membership outreach and retention as well, and just making sure that the concerns of our members are brought to the association's attention.
Okay. And I assume with outreach that you are reaching out to people that maybe hadn't thought about aviation or had been interested but didn't really know how to get involved. How did you get involved in aviation?
So I actually first got involved in aviation back in Bellingham, Washington, and my first flight was the first hour I logged was at the age of 13 in a 1947 PA-11 Cub Special. And that was actually through a friend of mine down there who sold shaved ice, and it came up in conversation that he was actually an airline transport pilot as well as a certified flight instructor. And so through his kind gesture of giving me affordable flight instruction, I was able to get my pilot certificate while working part-time in high school.
So you've kind of lived the outreach story.
I have. That's why I'm here.
Well, speaking of here, how did you get to Alaska?
So I actually got to Alaska by a family friend. After I got my pilot's license, we went on a long cross country from Bellingham, Washington to Park Rapids, Minnesota in his 206. And that was such a great learning experience for me that I asked him where I could get more of that type of flying. And he simply said Alaska, so I moved up a few weeks later.
Oh, wow. And you kind of fell into the aviation world as an employee, not just a pilot doing it for fun, but you've also been employed, and it seems like Next Gen is a really good fit for you.
Yeah, I actually started as a ramp agent down in Bellingham, Washington, so that's where I was originally introduced into the aviation community, and then transitioned and upgraded, if you will, up here as a flight coordinator, now as the outreach coordinator for the Alaska Airmen Association.
And what's the best part about that job?
The best part of the outreach coordinator position at the Airmen is definitely the youth component of it, and the fact that I'm able to influence and help people who are looking to get into the industry or progress their flight training career track as well.
Do you reach out to younger people other than 18 as part of the outreach coordinator? Do you have programs that look at encouraging aviation and science with kids that are in school?
We do. So we are involved in the Aviation Museum's Council for Youth over there as well, and then we are looking at starting some summer youth camps as well over the summer here, and to grow youth interest from there.
That's great. I think it's important to give kids the opportunity to explore some avenues that maybe their parents don't have time for or the resources for. And certainly with Alaska being so aviation intense, so many people know somebody that flies, but being able to understand the science and ingrain that into the learning part of it is very important.
Absolutely, and that's actually not a privilege that I had when I first started, is I didn't have anyone in my family who was interested in aviation. And so the time it took for me to kind of build that avenue and to have the networking opportunities available to get into in an aviation career path took a while. So that's what we're hoping to really boost with our summer youth camps as well as with the Next Gen group.
Yeah, you're a perfect example for that. So what are your goals and where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
In 5 years, I see myself being a certified flight instructor, but also working in an airline management position, and on top of that, still being involved with the Airmen Association, either as a youth coordinator or on the board.
And let me go back then with the outreach programs and Next Gen. Are there opportunities for people to volunteer if they're out of that age range or if they have some expertise that they'd like to share?
There are. So we actually host the Great Alaska Aviation Gathering, and that's going to be happening May 6th and 7th of this year. And we are planning on 25,000 attendees this year. We had 23,000 last year. And so we need all the volunteers we can get. And so to find out more about that, they can, of course, go to our website, greatalaskaaviationgathering.org.
And specifically for Next Gen, if somebody's got experience as a dispatcher or in management, are you looking for people to become involved with the group?
Absolutely. And we are looking to get more dispatchers. We have some pilots, both fixed wing and rotorcraft, but we are looking to also get some air traffic controllers and dispatchers on board in the group. And more information on that can be found at the Alaska Airmen's website at alaskaairmen.org under the Next Gen tab.
Well, very good. Thank you, Oscar. It's been a pleasure, and good luck in bringing new enthusiasts and new energy into aviation. It's definitely needed.
Thanks for having me, Mary.
Ladies and gentlemen, the future of aviation depends on engagement with younger generations. So if you are interested, we encourage you to participate. Helping out young aviators and people who are interested in working in the field is a great way to give back. We look forward to seeing the group at the Great Alaska Aviation Gathering. And on behalf of the Alaska Aviation Safety Foundation and Alaska Public Media, thank you for watching Hangar Flying. Until next time, fly safely.
Welcome back. Ice really decreasing here, Bering Sea, actually in Bristol Bay, just about almost gone. Some little bit left there, but then really opening up here across Nunivak Island, right up the coast, and back over St. Lawrence Island as well, with the heavier stuff drifting northward, and expected to continue to retreat, even though some chillier northerly winds that won't be all that strong are going to come back in over the area there. So moving on to coastal forecast here for the Panhandle, east 20 knots on the south coast, small craft advisories, northeast 25, north side. Gales again for Lynn Canal, holding those at least for a portion of the day tomorrow. Small craft advisories down to Stevens Passage, east 20 knots, Clarence Strait. For Wednesday, small craft advisories for Frederickstown, Stevens Passage on up to Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay. 15 knots for Clarence Strait, east-southeast 15 to 20 on the south coast, east-northeast 15 to 25 on the north coast, but seas all in the 6 to 7 foot range. Prince William Sound, Cook Inlet, north 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet, northwest 20, Kachemak Bay to north 20 for the Barrens, northwest 20, east side of Kodiak, northeast 15 for the North Gulf Coast. Those become light and variable along the North Gulf Coast, all the way down to the Barrens, Kodiak Island, and just northerlies at 10 to 15 here for the Cook Inlet area, Prince William Sound, light northerlies. Alaska Peninsula, north winds 10 knots from Bristol Bay all the way down to Cape Saracheff, northwest 10 to 15, Cape Saracheff to Sitkinak. Wednesday, turning northeast, but only 10 knots, Sitkinak to Castle Cape, more northerly here on the south side, but still 10 knots. Strongest, northwest 15, Bering Sea side of the peninsula with light winds out of the northeast for Bristol Bay. Eastern Aleutians, Fox Islands, Unalaska Island, north 15, turning northeast from Nikolsky to east 20. Central Aleutians, small craft advisories on out to the west at 25 knots. Then on Wednesday, still hanging on to some 25 knot winds there, mostly for that next front edging its way inland. Otherwise 15 knots, turn northerly up to 20 knots across the Fox Islands, 15 to 20 with 4 to 6 foot seas. And for the southwest coast, pretty light north winds at 10 knots there, south and southeastern Nunivak Island, also Kuskokwim Bay, seas, ice-free waters there, 2 feet, and north 15, St. Lawrence Island, same speed, 2 foot seas in the ice-free waters. Pribilofs, north 20, seas 4 feet. St. Matthew Island, 15 knots out of the north with 5-foot seas. And for Wednesday, a little bit of an increase now for St. Lawrence Island, north at 20, 15 knots here for the southwest coast, seas 3 to 4 feet in the ice-free waters, and north 15 for the Pribilofs with 5-foot seas, pick up to about 20 knots for St. Matthew Island. Up along the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, east becoming northeast, becoming north, but only 10 knots there as you head toward demarcation point. Northeast 10 all the way down to Wales. For Wednesday, a little bit more wind here, brisk wind advisories from Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort, 25 knots northeast, 20 knots to the south, east 20 knots here on the west side. Still pretty light along the central and eastern coast, but northwest 15 there for the extreme eastern zone. And for tonight, again, winds continuing to diminish up in that area there, but still be some areas of surges of clouds or fog, flurries, that sort of thing. Along the north slope mostly there, fair over the interior, breezy in some areas. Outflow winds, north Gulf Coast, northern Panhandle, mostly clear skies. And then this system coming northwestward will spread rain and showers in across the southern areas tomorrow, gradually lifting northward, but staying south of the northern Panhandle, those see increasing clouds. Mostly sunny in the interior, dry conditions, north Gulf Coast, Kodiak, right up to the Arctic coast. And weak boundary here, keeping some showers mostly off the coast, if not entirely, and a very weak front over the western Aleutians, which dissipates Wednesday night, and another one starts to make the scene out there late in the day. They'll kick those winds back up to 25 knots for Shimmy and Attu. Otherwise, lighter winds for the Aleutians. Upper level low increases the snow shower activity there, southeast Bering Sea to the Alaska Peninsula and Pribilofs. Sunshine again, breezy conditions in the interior.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.